So let's dive into optimizing your content. I think at the end of the day, you need to understand that Google still loves text. So you're seeing a lot more imagery and video used across the web these days. But at the end of the day, Google's algorithm is driven by text still. It's the easiest way from a computer standpoint for them to figure out what a page or a piece of content is about. So it's really still critical that you put a lot of text throughout your website. The other thing to understand, I think it makes it easier to understand how Google operates, is when Google started, really the only things that we engage with as humans were books, newspapers, and television. And so they really built their algorithm and the way that they ranked websites around the same way that we would understand information through those particular channels, through books, newspapers, and television. So I think the best way to look at it is books are the equivalent of what they call evergreen content, which is a piece of content that you write and 2 years from now it's still relevant. Whereas newspapers is like blogging. You know, you might write a story that's relevant for 2 days or 2 weeks or a month. And so that's the same way Google operates in the way that they think about content creation. They're looking at content that is relevant in a marketplace over time, and then also content that comes into favor quickly and then quickly falls out of favor. And you see that in news and entertainment and that kind of thing. You see lots of things popular, and then there's another story right behind it that's even better. And Google, that's really how they operate their algorithm too. So providing clear headlines and subheadlines throughout your content will create more engagement and ultimately help you win with SEO. We talked about engaging images and/or video, and at the end, lots of text. So we'll dive into how much text we're talking about, but the more, the better. Google loves it. So a little bit about the technical stuff. We're talking about meta titles and descriptions, which are really critical still for Google to understand what pages are about. The meta title and description is what you see in Google search results when you see the link and the short description of what that particular page that they're putting in their search results is about. And with meta titles, it's really your opportunity to engage someone and lead with the keywords that are important to that particular query. Like if I search for baby toys, you want to make sure baby toys is in the title, because Google's going to bold that, which is going to drive more engagement from the person that searched the term. So we always lead with keywords, and then we end with benefits, and we try and get attention. So we've put a few examples up here of how we build titles for our clients. And it's all about ensuring that the keywords are in the titles, as well as driving interest and making sure benefits, when you can use them, are in the titles. And again, Google will only display 67 characters max, or around 70 characters, and we like to shorten that up because Google is over time shortening that. And what we found is that if you write them longer, the way Google displays them when they're cut off, you get a lot less click-through. So you need to make sure they're nice and short and quick and to the point. With meta descriptions, you've got a lot more area to include both your core keyword and some of your secondary keywords that are relevant to that particular search query. And I think the best way to think about this is think about Twitter, where you have 140 characters max. If you have a little more space than that in Google, but what I found is the shorter the better, because again, people can read shorter messages faster, and they're more likely to click on websites that have shorter descriptions. And again, it gives you more opportunities to reinforce the benefits that you can bring to that visitor by clicking on your website. So you just want to reinforce those benefits because you have more room to do so in your description. Meta keywords is another field that's been used over the years. Don't use it. Google doesn't look at it. The other search engines barely use it as an indicator of what your website should rank for. And it's a great place for competitors to figure out what keywords you're trying to rank for in search engines. So don't use that tag at all. And then lastly, try and include your keyword in your URLs for that particular page that you've created. And if you get an opportunity, make them engaging. So it could be babystore.com/babytoys, and more engaging URL would be babystore.com/greatbabytoys. So think about the visitor when they're looking in the search results, what they're going to see in that URL, and what would get them to click likely. You can improve that URL and to increase your click-through rate. So you can either use just the keyword or if you can get creative and add a little more than the keyword, you can get more engagement from the visitor searching that particular query. So we've talked about it. Make sure you're using big attention-getting headlines. The main headline that Google wants to see is what they call an H1, and it just means an headline. It's their biggest form of headline in HTML code. So that's really a must. You need to have an H1 title on each of the pieces of your content. The others are optional for subheads. You can use H2s and H3s, which just means they're smaller. But the key is really to make sure you have a big H1 with your keyword at the top that's very engaging to the visitor. And again, if you use those formulas that I recommended, you'll have no problem keeping people engaged. Below that headline, use an engaging image and video. We've talked about the imagery, and video is highly engaging. And the number of words as it relates to text, we like to use 600 to 1,200 words. We're finding that ranks the best in Google, and I'd recommend that you try and write content that's in that length. So certainly if you have blog posts that you can only really come up with 400 words, that's fine. It's not going to work against you. But if you have the opportunity, you should be writing longer content. Google's going to like that. And that's a lot of text, but you can break up that text with bulleted lists, numbered lists, imagery, the subheadline, so you can make it to where even if people are having to scroll to engage with your content, it's highly engaging still. It's not just a big sheet of text. So the last piece of optimizing your killer content, and we can move on to driving influence and relevancy, is understanding how to link from your web pages. So we talked a little bit about siloing and how to link your web pages to other pages on your website that are relevant. But we haven't talked about outbound links, and we'll talk about that a little bit here on the slide. So if you look at my example here, if you want to invest in silver right away, here is ... What you're seeing here is a link to another page on the website that is relevant to invest in silver. The keyword here is invest in silver. And so what we're doing is we're creating a link with anchor text that has the keyword that we want to rank for. And then we want to basically signal Google that we have content about the term invest in silver. But we're not just using the term as a link. That's very unnatural. It looks like you're optimizing for that term. So what we've done is we've added additional words that are actually engaging for the user, and we're saying invest in silver the right way. Well, that's more engaging to click on than just a link that says invest in silver. So that's going to tell me that on the other side of this link is a piece of content that's going to help me understand if I did invest in silver would be the right way to do it, right? So this is the way you want to link to your other content on your website that will also be engaging for the users that read your content, and it'll also give Google the signals that they're looking for to understand what your website should be ranking for. And then secondly, you want to link out to other authoritative websites. And this is a very natural element of the web. A great example is linking to Wikipedia pages that are about that particular topic that you wrote the content on. So in this case, we used Invisalign. So there's likely a page on Wikipedia that talks about Invisalign and what that really is. And this could be, like I mentioned earlier, like an association in your industry. It could be another website that provides good information that isn't one of your competitors. But there's plenty of great authoritative websites that have good content about the topics that you're talking about. If you link out to them, Google sees that it adds more authority to you because you're in the same neighborhood and linking to folks that have great content and great authority already in the marketplace. So it's important to link out to authoritative websites that are also relevant to your market. Even with Wikipedia, obviously it's not relevant to a specific market, but they're very authoritative in Google, and they have information just about it on every topic. So, Wikipedia can be your default for outbound links, but there's a great opportunity to link to all types of authoritative websites. And the more that you can link to that are relevant to your particular marketplace, the better. And then lastly, the key here is links at the top get more love. So Google has a first position link preference. So the links that are higher up on the page, we talked about it being in the fold. So your internal links, you want to keep those in the fold if you can. If you have text in the fold, you want to link to your other internal pages there because you're going to get more link juice in Google's eyes from those particular links. So all of our outbound links are typically lower on the page in the content, further down, and our internal links are in the fold because Google likes the links higher up on the page more than they do the ones at the bottom.